Why are we here today? We are here to talk to President Reveley and let him know about our demands. And besides letting him know, which because he already knows, most of them come from the Race and Race Relations Task Force, we're going to talk about how we're actually going to see these things implemented in a timely fashion, because that so far has been the problem. So please stay tuned, and thank you all for being here with us. Suggestions that have been brought up by the Race and Race Relations Task Force, other than the implementation of the new names for Lemon and Hardy and the fund, which we know happened last spring, that would be very beneficial so we could tell the larger campus community what exactly is going on. I think some transparency, if we don't actually see steps being taken, would be helpful.
Task Force Implementation Committee that is working. And that is the place where we're going to get the transparency and the timeline. And I can poke them to make reports, and that would be good, because people are entitled to that sort of transparency. You just hit one of my hot buttons, so I'll go back in my cage on it. It is not effective, in my opinion, to approach other people and say, we demand, unless you have the capacity to demand.
It's the frustration of students of color, of faculty of color, I think is because that a lot of people have gone through traditional channels, formalizing complaints, talking to appropriate faculty and staff about it, and they feel that their voice is being ignored. I think the reason why our conference has come up with demands is because the recommendations that have been put in place have not been enacted in a timely fashion, without a timeline, without transparency, and that is what we are concerned about.
The substance of what you say is radically more important than that.
Right. Thank you.
I think that William and Mary, if we're going to be on the cutting edge, as we always claim to be, we're going to be for the bold, then you have to have a for the bold diversity and inclusion strategy, and that's what these demands do.
The institution makes things required that they feel are important. And if we all have to take a math class, if we all have to take a physical science and a lab, why shouldn't we all have to take an introduction to inclusivity at the College of William and Mary?
What is your reception of these demands? How do you feel about the Vice Provost's position of diversity inclusion? How do you feel about a timeline? What are your thoughts on the issues?
It's an interesting idea. One of the main things I struggle with here all the time is what's in the best overall interest of the university.
I think there's a glaring issue here with the emphasis. The emphasis that you are explaining here is that we, as POC, as Black students, have to reach out to white people to make them understand our experience. Why is it the burden of those students to teach the other students who do not understand our history all the time, to have more burden put on us to further have to educate the masses? That's not a duty. That's not a burden. That is a downfall of the educational system.
As a person who was on the task force and spent a year of my time towards this, dozens of us spent that entire year researching, finding out what other colleges and universities and institutions were doing around the US towards it, and the successes of it. All of the recommendations that we put forth were extensively researched and also just pulled throughout the school to try to find out what the students also needed. And so it is incredibly frustrating that this is 2 years past the inception of the task force. We're doing all of these things. We're having these conversations with our roommates. We're dialogue facilitators, having these conversations with the diversity of students from all different walks of life on campus about these important things. And at this point, the administration and implementing this at an institutional level is all that's left there to do, because these other things, as much work as we're doing, it's not getting the reach that it can be.
I'll get a progress report out on what we're doing with the task force recommendations and that things have been done.
Will there be a timeline release of those things?
Yeah, if their timeline's available,
Would you advocate for a timeline?
Yeah, I'm a great believer in timelines if you're trying to actually get something done. Took a civil rights course in Princeton in 1963-64, and at the end of the course, they were really beating on the professors, so it was a long time. How do we fix this? How do we ever get beyond this? And what he finally said was, it'll only happen when we're all the same color. You know, intermarriage, when marriage cross racial lines.
Students in this very room. President Reeve, with all due respect, to say something like that when you have this beautiful array of diversity sitting before you, do you realize that America, as a demographically, is shifting to be more people of color by the year 2050? This very university, if it's still standing at that year, like, will not look the way that it does
What's
today.
that got to do with what I just said?
What I'm telling you right now is that saying that it's all going to be fine when we're all, that when your professors
I
are
don't
all
think
the
we're
same
all.
color.
He was.
What?
He was.
I get what you're saying.
He was not
Ideologically,
being realistic, and I am not attacking.
I don't think you're attacking me.
Anything.
I think you're bringing up something that when you're sitting in a room full of people who are telling you because of how
I'm
you
a
look.
color. I got color too.
Sir, you're white. With all due respect. Okay.
wait. The whether physically or ideologically you're looking, I think the fact that that's so wrong is that we can't just dismiss color. Color is, it's historical. Like our skin holds our history for a lot of us because we don't really know our history. So to say that it'll all go away when we're all one color is really not.
Well, but that's also saying that we're only going to get racial justice once we all look the same, and that means that we can't hold people in power accountable for making equality a reality through legislation.
We were
and society.
desperately trying to do that right now,
Well, we're offering solutions which can greatly help that.
and I think some of them, sound pretty compelling to me. It is not just a problem for some of us. It's a problem, it's a challenge for all of us. And you all are obviously working on it. I've been working on it. And,
Maybe we should merge our two efforts. Maybe it's best to schedule another meeting, perhaps next week, where we can talk about it more in
anytime
depth.
you want to come talk to me, I'll be delighted to talk.
If there's a desire, things happen. William and Mary should care about these issues and make time for it. Let's just move forward, look toward the future, and really like foster that desire to really cater to the student needs and the student interests, and equally doing justice to the history that founds our campus and our community.
Here are the names: Adam, Andrew, Anthony, Betty, Bob, Catherine, Charlotte, Daniel, Dick, Effie, Fanny, Frankie, Gerald, Glasgow, James, another Gerald, Kate, Lemon, Letty, Lucy, Margaret, Mass, Molly, Nanny, Ned, Peggy, Pompey, Price, Priscilla, Charlotte, Suki, Tom Mask, and Winkfield. Those are all the names that we have.